is. We are live. What's going on, everybody? Live before lock, Friday, December 28th. Joined by EMAC once again. We're taking over this live before lock channel. This is our new show.
It certainly seems that way, Josh.
Fine by
of course,
me.
This will be a little 2-day respite for Mr. Spags, who's been running around doing some holiday stuff. But you will get him back next week. Fast Eddie will be back from Mexico soon enough, and things will be back to normal.
They will. As usual, we are brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. We will be taking a look at some Thrive props at the middle of the show, so around the 6:30 Eastern time mark. For those not familiar with Thrive, and I'll drop the link into the chat as I talk about it. It's a new DFS site where you pick player props, and you pick 10 out of a group of 20 of some of the main guys from the slate. Your goal is to choose an over and under based on their points, rebounds, assists, maybe points and rebounds added together. And you get a certain amount of points whether you take the over under, and you kind of have to balance what you think other people are doing as well. It's tricky. It's tricky, but I like it. It helps me to calibrate my own projections as well.
As soon as you say that, all I can think about is Run DMC. It's tricky.
I get it. Good song, too.
Oh, classic, along with Christmas and Hollis. They had some moments, my Adidas and me. It was good times. Good times ahead. Got a nice question here. Look at what's going on here with Washington. Good God. I was all ready to kick back. We're going over to do a second Christmas tomorrow afternoon with a bunch of friends. I'm on dessert duty, so I'm making a lovely double batch of caramel brownies, chocolate chips, peanut butter chips, the whole thing. And I was going to watch the Wizards. I don't know that I want to watch the Wizards. Well, I'm going to watch them. They're not the Wizards, though. It's Bradley Beal and company going against Chicago. But someone's asking, who should we leave out in cash? Lonzo, Schroeder, or Satoransky? I would probably leave out Satoransky personally. It's a tough call.
Yeah.
3,500 on DK, probably play 38 minutes.
Let's see.
I can see it. I don't know that I'd want to do cartwheels with it. The other one I would leave out next would be Schroeder. It all depends who you can bounce up with your savings, because there's some disparate prices there.
Yeah, that's sort of the problem. What are you gaining if you have Satoransky in your lineup? What are you losing if you go to one of those other guys in lieu of someone else? If I'm looking at it just from a general perspective, let me take a look and see where I have them in terms of a ranking, at least on DK. So we'd have Lonzo. Let's see, -3. So then we have what was the other one? Schroeder. -2, and then Satoransky. Yeah, I think Schroeder would be the guy that I would feel like safest leaving out, but also like the guy that I feel like can hurt me the most, as weird as that sounds. But if I'm playing cash, I think he's got the most volatility in his performance today.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. And I guess if you calibrate back and you're saying, what do you think Satoransky is going to do? Well, he's going to handle the ball a lot. He's only going to take good shots. But who the hell is he going to pass to get assists? And so often he makes the pass, then the next guy makes that pass, and it's a nice bucket for Washington, but Sato doesn't get anything for that. That's the only frustrating part about watching him out there. Otherwise, he's a great player, doesn't make mistakes, rarely turns the ball over unless he gets trapped up by the half court and nobody comes to help him, which, hey, a lot of people do that too.
Yeah,
but it's the Wizards. Nobody's helping anybody on the Wizards. So.
No. We need hockey assist for that one.
Yeah, with John Wall's not out there, Sato's like, who am I giving it to? Austin Rivers isn't here anymore. Ron Baker, you don't get it either. I'll just take the turnover. It'll save us time, and we may get a defensive stop still.
So, how many Wizards are you looking to rotate through here?
That is the wonderful question. So I was just looking on the crunch here. So I'm running 115 lineups, and moved out the Fred VanVleet fan club lineup. So it looks like a lot of Decker is coming through, and I'm using some guy named Josh Engelman's projections here. So but I also had him uncapped. But I'm capping him at 3%. So
yeah, that's fair.
Once I get rid of that, I'm also capping Satoransky. I'm going 38%. We have the field at 55. I'm fine for the reasons I just stated, going under in the tournaments. It's all about what is he going to get you for your other guys. But it looks like a fair amount of Beal. I'm going to put him at 50% and let it ride, and then go from there. And whoever else falls in is fine. A little bit of Jeff Green, a little bit of Thomas Bryant. It's hard to tell exactly what those guys are going to do, but minutes are money, and they don't have anybody for the Wizards. We're going to get one lucky Bulls fan. Do we have like hockey? You have the regional goalie that's ready to step in if one of the teams, like 3 goalies get sick or whatever. The Wizards, one lucky fan from section 116 from Chicago is going to be suiting up in the second half.
They are playing. This is a much different team at the bottom of the bench. Getting Decker now, Chasen Randall, Ron Baker. Ugh.
Yeah, you've got to have facilitators. You've got to have talent. I mean, even if all these guys get the minutes, think back to like the Grizzlies where we saw this. Those guys at least had a whole boatload of veteran 7th, 8th, and 9th men. These Wizards guys are coming off the street. I mean, Thomas Bryant, we're getting excited by a guy that was cut by the Lakers that, yes, he did well in the G League last year, but guys, what's going to happen with him? Satoransky's had a million chances, and he's adequate. Jeff Green is having the best season of his career, probably because he's from DC, but he's a million years old. Jan Mahimny's going to be in the mix tonight. None of these names are exciting. Now, if Porter was there, if Kelly Oubre was still there, it'd be fine. The one name I haven't said is Trevor Ariza, and I just don't know how excited I am about him tonight.
Yeah, I don't have a large amount of interest in Ariza. For me, playing on Yahoo tonight, Beal, Jeff Green, and Satoransky are the 3 I'm getting the most. Satoransky at the flat minimum, kind of makes it easy. Jeff Green only at $12, so I like that. And then Bradley Beal is he's going to be able to do as much as he would like to. He's going to play close to 40 minutes if this game stays even mildly close. The only way that Bradley Beal isn't playing 36 plus minutes is injury, foul trouble, or they're up by 40. Yes. Otherwise, it's going to be a heavy dose of Bradley Beal. So those are the 3 guys that I'm taking the most from Washington. Are you playing anybody on the back end for Chicago?
The one guy I do like is Decker, or probably not Decker. I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix this now. I've got this will give everybody a chuckle. All the scrubs came in uncapped because I set my filter wrong. I had a Dorian Finney-Smith set for 100% and gave me 38. I'm gonna go fix that right now. He was sitting right next to Decker, who I was fixing. Lauri Markkanen is the one guy. This is a nice game for him. There's nobody in the front court that he's going to be going up against. There's depending on how minutes end up being distributed for the rest of the Bulls, what are they going to do? Is Jabari Parker still going to be out? Yada, yada, yada. I think Markkanen is a guy I'm intrigued by. I'm putting him in for 38 points. I've goosed that from the projections that we have, but I'm still capping him at 20% because I don't want to go overboard. There are so many other good players in other situations that it just feels like, why do I need to make such a dominating stand on the field? The main reason I'm allowing it to go that much higher than the field, I have so many Wizards. I'm capping my Wizards at 3 per team, though. This is all DraftKings. This is all DraftKings talk.
Sure.
We'll get to Yahoo at some point here.
Yeah, I have a lineup with Markkanen. I actually still have a lineup with Levine on Yahoo as well. The minutes limit being at 30 doesn't really impact me all that much. He still looks okay enough. I only had him in at 32 minutes to begin with, so I'm not super worried about it for one lineup. He's especially in, well, 2 reasons. One, they're playing Washington, and they're just kind of dreadful across the board, so it's not like Levine can't do a lot in 30 minutes. And 2, just because they're saying he's on a 30-minute limit, I don't exactly trust Jim Boylan and the Bulls to make conscious decisions for their players' health. So if he plays 32, 33, 34 minutes, is that really going to surprise anybody? Because it's not going to shock me. And I assume that news will depress his ownership. So that's kind of my hope.
One guy I like that I didn't hear, and I was in and out of watching the other shows I was getting ready here for ours, but Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
Didn't hear a ton about. I do like him without Paul George. This is a reasonably good matchup going against Phoenix. Not a lot of defense to be played by Phoenix, and he's sort of the consummate garbage man. I'm willing to double up on the field. We had him at 13%. I've got him set at 25, and he's coming in on 25% of my lineup. So that's probably why I'm not seeing as much Trevor Ariza, would be my guess, because Ariza's projecting about the same point per minute, and he's a little more expensive.
Yeah, Grant's interesting. He's a guy that's a part of my player pool on Yahoo. I've been trying to limit, since I'm only playing 10 lineups, I don't need to really just let it rip the same way that I would if I were playing 150 on a different site. So I like Grant. I think he grades out really well. His price on DraftKings is fantastic. He just simply didn't come up even on my limited player pool crunch. So I don't have him. But at 4,800 on DK, I would probably have somewhere around the field, the 13% number if I were playing on DK. The $5,700 price tag on FanDuel isn't that appealing to me. 17 on Yahoo looks perfectly reasonable. But like I said, he just didn't come up for me. I wish he did. I like him tonight.
I'm getting a bunch of I always am intrigued by sorting by highest projected lineups. That's not always what you want to do when you're putting stuff in tournaments, but it's interesting to see when you're looking at your crunches. And it looks like all of my top lineups have 3 Wizards, which is my cap, 2 Lakers, and then Nikola Jokic is in my life, which I guess at 8,800, but he's popping in as the utility on half these. So interesting.
Yeah.
There.
Look, I totally get it. I had a conversation with Adam earlier today about it. He went back actually and watched some of this most recent Nuggets Spurs game. And they were playing Jokic really aggressively with traps and double teams. I don't know how much that'll affect this particular matchup, but I'd assume there's at least some weight to it. So he might be more of a facilitator than a scorer tonight. He grades out really well for me. I don't love at $47 on Yahoo. He is not really part of what I'm looking for. There's so much value at center that it's really difficult to go many other directions outside of someone like Towns, who I think is just kind of criminally underpriced. But if I were on FanDuel or DK tonight, I wouldn't be able to get totally away from Jokic.
I'm just looking at, what do we think is reasonable? Because if he's going to be passing, it means he's not going to be scoring. What do we say, like 20 points? Do we think that sounds like a reasonable Jokic number? I'm looking at worst case kind of scenario here. Obviously best case is mid to upper 20s and a triple double.
I have him projected for 21.5.
Okay. And how many assists do you have him for?
6.8.
All right. Okay, so you're going lower. I was thinking, all right, what if they're going to force him to pass? What if he gets more assists? So the last time he had 20 points, 5 assists, 5 boards, he ended up with 37 fantasy points. That's not very exciting.
No, not so much.
Which is why it just makes me not particularly want him in some of my main lineups. But if we look at, here's one where he had 12 points. He got 13 assists, which is a big number, 8 boards, but he got 45 there. So none of those are eye-popping. So I'm just trying to think of what's worst case scenario, because scores, what do you think, 360 to take down a tournament tonight? 350 on DK? Yahoo approaching, I forget, sorry, not Yahoo, FanDuel. I forget how those scores work.
Depends how well Saturansky and Hart and who else the heavy chalk plays. That's really where it will be the linchpin to these scores.
Would you land on Kuzma or Ingram?
Both. I have the Lakers, much like I did yesterday, very aggressively. A ton of Kuzma, Ball, and Ingram. I find them really difficult to get away from. Do you have a preference between the three?
For me, it's probably Kuzma, but we've got to count pricing. And I think on DraftKings, I think you have to reverse it. You have to say Ball's number 1. Ingram's probably number 2. He should be back to being healthy, and he's going to be the secondary distributor, plus probably secondary scorer too. And Kuzma's my favorite, but at 7,700, I got to look at these other 2 first.
Yeah, the $7,700 price tag on DraftKings, I don't want to say like it's like crazy or egregious or anything, because it's not. His role is insane. They don't really have. He doesn't really have anything to worry about if he's playing at just in case he's playing at the 5, because the Clippers will play Harrell there so much that that can be fine. I would say that Kuzma looks a little bit better on FanDuel and Yahoo, but there's just too many shots and too much opportunity to go around here for me to even worry about any of those guys. I'm surprised at how low Ingram's projected ownership is on both FanDuel and DK. He might actually be my favorite of the 3.
Yeah, I'm hitting a few more crunches here before I submit. Do you think JaVale's going to play tonight?
I have him in right now. I think it's really only a relevant piece of information if you're playing on Yahoo. If he's in, you don't really want any of the centers across the board. And if he's out, I don't really think that makes Zubats look good on FanDuel or DraftKings. I think he's kind of too expensive, but he's still $12 on Yahoo. So if JaVale is out, then I think that Zubats is continuing to be in play as a cheap center option. Otherwise, I don't know. It's probably not going to matter all that much.
And then Hassan Whiteside, how are you feeling about him at 7,100 on DK? And then I'll upload this and get over to Yahoo so we can talk a common.
No, we can talk, I can talk across all of them. I got it all here. Whiteside is my 3rd center right now.
Okay.
I have a bunch of him, as much as you can have a bunch of out of 10 lineups, but he looks great. No ownership, 2% on FanDuel, 4% on DK. He's the type of guy, he's been seeing more minutes recently, and he's the type of guy that can really break a slate at 7,100. If I said that Whiteside had a 50-plus point game, there's not a soul in chat or in Slack that's going to be like, oh, Whiteside had that big of a game? It's just not how it works. So if he's going to be that low owned, I really like the idea of having more than the field.
Jamal Murray's the one guy I'm really worried about not having enough of.
That's a guy I do not have any of, actually.
All right. And by saying enough, my last little look here, because I'm just going to let it ride, but I ended up with 11%. I matched the field. Okay. He was a guy when I started the day on DraftKings, when he was at 6,600. I like to go against the Spurs. Now, recent history is going to show us, in their last game here, he had a dud, but I like going against the Spurs with some guards. The one worry is, though, do they start doing some goofy stuff to make him get in trouble in or whoever's hot? But if they're focusing on Jokic, I like him as the secondary player. But big slate, not somebody I think we should force into our lineup. So I was hoping I'd get more. I'm with him at the field, so I'll accept that and upload this.
Breaking news, by the way.
Should I upload or not?
It depends if you have him in your lineup or not. Udonis Haslem out tonight.
Oh, Udonis, one of my favorite guys, because he is the consummate player. He took the salary cap, when the salary cap was really tight for Miami, he took those just pedestrian contracts, but they're keeping him around on the back end. He's effectively a practice player at this point. But frankly, for the number of people they have missing on a regular basis, why not have him around? He's a good guy. He was adequate for a couple years there, averaged nearly a double-double about a decade ago. But yeah, anyway, enough about him. What do we got for tonight? Let's look at Yahoo, Josh. I'm going to see if there's any room in these tournaments. Oh, look, there is. Wow, 2,500 spots still. So I wouldn't walk. I wouldn't run just yet. I'd jog over there because these will fill up rather quickly. 10 entry limit. Do we have some sort of promo code where people can get something extra?
It's weird. We do. Promo code is Awesemo. $30 on any deposit, 30 or more. It's not like 30 cash. You get like $30 in Yahoo points or something along those lines. But yeah, $30 deposit for anything above $30. You really can't beat that. And all you have to do is use the promo code Awesemo.
There we go. We also have an article on the front page talking about the $1 Million Baller NBA. That's a free article. You'll see that. Just look under the football section. It'll pop up later tonight once basketball locks. But the guy who wrote that finished 25th in the $1 Million Baller last week for $2,000.
Seems like a smart guy. Do you know who wrote it?
Oh, gosh, it was me.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic. Fantastic.
There we are. Full disclosure, the first week, $200 in, $200 out. So this will be hopefully not just the tiebreaker, but I'm up on that. That was a fun one. And I used four or five of the plays on my winning lineup were in my article. But here's my Yahoo placeholder lineup that I made last night. And it's actually not too bad. Jamal Murray, Lou Williams, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Lauri Markkanen, Danilo Gallinari, Dwayne Dedmon, and Montreal Harrell.
Can't beat that. That's not bad at all.
It's not terrible. It's not
for a night before.
Yeah, there we go. Plus, my friend Seth out there in chat, Seth Hater. Look at that. I was on Markkanen way early. No Wizards on this lineup though. That
you couldn't have seen that one coming, I guess. I think Wall's going to be out for a while.
Oh, I haven't had time to look. What was his?
He's going to see a specialist. I don't get the sense that they send him to a specialist if he stubbed his toe. So that leads me to believe he's not going to be around a lot. Put him on ice for the rest of the year and then try to get out of this awful deal.
Oh boy. Yeah, him. That means Bradley Beal's going to be next because he's going to absorb all these minutes and his shins are made of wet tissue paper.
He's been oddly healthy though lately, right? I mean, that was a very big problem early, but
it plagued him for about 3 seasons. He's been better than Porter and Wall recently. Yeah. I mean, but what you gonna do?
So is anybody else standing out big time for you? You've mentioned a couple guys so far, but who else is dominating your crunches?
Going back to the old crunch here, let's see. We said Beal, Ball, Westbrook was the other guy. I put him up to 44%, did not touch his projection, and got 44%. It hit that cap. I just want to see. I think Davis was the other guy I was looking at. I kept him at 16. I just felt that there's always a chance when you're with Dallas and the in-game entry and all of that. I just wanted to match the field on him tonight. Plus, there were so many other guys with John Collins and Dwayne Dedmon and Bryant and a litany of players at those forwards and center positions that I kind of wanted those to be earmarked elsewhere and go after some of these guards in games where I think it's going to be really quick and they're going to be really dominating the ball, which, oh gosh, sounds like Russell Westbrook. So I made that particular decision myself.
Okay. Yeah. For me, if I were on FanDuel or DraftKings, oh, that was really loud in my ear. If I were on FanDuel or DraftKings for Anthony Davis, I would take whatever I got. Like if I was with the field, great. If I was slightly under, fine. If I was slightly over, fine. It's just one of those things where like whatever makes it work, I'm cool with it. Just because you need so many points on a slate like today for him to really pay you off now. Like if you got 65 from Anthony Davis, you're like, okay, that went well, but it's not going to be the linchpin to me being at the top. Yeah. So I usually just want to same process that you mentioned. I kind of just want to hang out with the field on that one and take whatever I can get.
And that's something I've learned with the Osmo ownership projections and such is I never really used them as much before, and I was not really into the fantasy cruncher, etc. But this is true story for chat. I go down to the low dollar entries, muck around. I mean, I say, oh, I'm playing 100 and whatever lineups. Well, yeah, I'm playing about $100 worth. So if things go sideways, I have a bad export, something goes wrong, it's okay. It's okay. So I know some of our guys play a lot. I don't feel comfortable doing that, but boy, I get in there and the thing I love most about daily fantasy sports is the instant where was I right? Was I wrong? How did it play out? And you get about $100 in there and you're like, I can do a lot of things with $100. So when I lose it, it's like, oh, but I beat myself up a little bit, but the wife wouldn't really care.
Right.
I don't tell her, but if I was losing $1,000, I'd be trying to hide it from her. What's going on? We don't want to deal with that. So slow and steady wins the race. And then a couple times a year I hit one of these $2,000, $5,000, $7,000 ones, and that's fine.
Yeah, that'll always work. Got a couple Thrive props for you. You want to take a look at them with me?
Absolutely. Let me get something up here showing projections that aren't your projections. Sorry. But we it's no fun if we're looking at the same thing. So
I guess that's probably true. We'll take a look at one or two right now. Let's see if anything is suddenly more relevant than it was this morning. I assume that Paul George will have less than 30.5 points and assists tonight. Should come in at a crisp 0.
Oh boy, is that still live?
They won't change through the day. You just have to not pick that prop.
But wait, you just don't get to pick it?
No, so there are 20 options that you can pick out of, and you only have to take 10.
Okay.
So you have a pool of 20, and then you can pick up a couple backups. So just in case you picked Paul George and he gets scratched late, you have 2 what they call ice props in case of emergency. So that will automatically fall off and go to your next your next priority. Great little system. Better than dropping a player, I guess. Russell Westbrook, 19.5 rebounds plus assists, and you get more points for taking the under. So basically, the question is, do you think that Russell Westbrook is going to get a triple-double tonight?
I think he will. He's leading the league in assists, and he's averaging, I know he was leading guards, or he was last time I looked, filtered by that, and I think he had almost 10 rebounds per game. I don't remember if it was just below or just over. So I'll take the over because of the opponent matchup and no Paul George.
Yeah, I will also take the over, although it is pretty close. You only get 90 points for the over and 110 for the under. So you need the over to hit more than 55% of the time to be right. I have him at 20.9. I do have him projected for a triple-double, 28.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, 10.3 assists. So it's there for the taking for him. It's not as if Phoenix is going to be putting up too much of a fight on the defensive end. Look at one more prop, and then we'll get into the rest of this slate. Who looks interesting? Don't really want to talk too much about Nikola Vucevic's steals potential at 0.5. That seems like a weird one. Okay, this one I think is interesting. He now has a 30-minute cap, potentially. Zach LaVine, over or under 21.5 points. And that's real points, not fantasy points. And you get 95 points for the over. This one's tight for me.
I'm going to take the under, even though it's the Wizards and it should be a high-flying game. I'm going to take the under. Would it surprise you if this was a complete slop fest of a game?
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's the one fears. Even though there's all this value in minutes and all that, these guys are priced where they are for a reason.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the under on that. I think it's solid. They know what they're doing. They're all going to be solid. But
21.1 coming out of my projections, and they have the prop set at 21.5, and it's shaded to the under. So, I mean, it's as close to a push pick for me as you could possibly get. But with the Wall news, this game likely to stay a little closer. I like LaVine for the over there, even though I have him slightly 0.4 of a point under that. The extra points, I just think he's more likely to hit that over. I actually kind of want to juice that projection a little bit. I think his upside is higher than his downside tonight. Alrighty.
Yes, that statement I would definitely agree with.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's going to have all the opportunity in the world for every second he's on the floor. And he doesn't really care whether or not anybody else is getting theirs. So, what would be a good game to talk about now? Well, let's talk about Minnesota and Atlanta. So Karl-Anthony Towns, 9,600 on FanDuel, same price on DraftKings, $41 on Yahoo. I would say he's one of my favorite plays of the day. Do you have any major interest in Towns on any sites?
I wanted to get him on DraftKings. I have. Let's go back to that crunch. I was looking more for the Lakers and a variety of other players. I decided to go with the field at him, so I have him on 9. I ended up going a little bit more, upping my cap on Dedmon and Collins, just because I thought point per dollar they were going to be a little bit better. And this feels like a slate where even though you can go stars and scrubs, there are some amazingly juicy people that are getting close to 6 times 1,000 that are in that sweet spot of 5,800 to 7,100, and that's where you get Markkanen, that's where you get Ingram and some of these other guys on DraftKings. So he's the one guy I wanted more at the beginning of the day, but he's not going to be on my lineups.
Okay. Yeah, I have from this game, I have some Towns. I have, I think, 2 lineups with Robert Covington. He's $21 on Yahoo. I think this is a really good game for him in that it's a really big pace-up matchup for Minnesota. The Hawks turn the ball over like crazy, which fits his sort of play style. I think he has the opportunity to really put up some extra peripheral stats. And then, if he can get out on the break and pick up a couple transition layups, he has the ability to have a really nice night. Only $21 on Yahoo. And then on the Atlanta side, I have a lineup with Kent Bazemore in it, and I have 2 lineups with Dedmon in it. Dedmon only $15. I'm hoping that another thing that Adam and I talked about earlier today. That's the second time I've done that today. Weird. I guess I just knew that I had to produce a show with Alex today, so it was on my brain. I'm hoping that Dedmon's ownership on Yahoo is uncharacteristically low for this slate, and that Mason Plumlee's is a little too high. I have a little bit more Dedmon and a little less Plumlee than I would have thought this morning.
Is Plumlee kind of the gimme sort of cheapie that the crowd should be going towards?
Yeah, so I have Mason Plumlee projected for 31.3 Yahoo points. He's $12, which means that his GPP target score is basically 32 fantasy points, or exactly what I'm already projecting him at. Normally, you're not even remotely close to that target score. So there's a big realistic chance that he puts up, 40 fantasy points at $12 on Yahoo. That's going to be very, very important. So both he and Dedmon are, I'd say without question, my 2 favorite center plays on Yahoo, just because of their prices and the fact that they should both play, easily 28 plus minutes, barring injury or foul trouble. You can't really pass that up at those prices.
Would you consider playing both on the same team?
I would be surprised if I didn't have at least one like that. Let me double check it. I have no issue with it whatsoever.
And that I was just kind of wondering more along the lines of, sort of prisoner's dilemma, if this, then this, and that's what I want to have happen going that route. Do we think Dennis Smith Jr. is supposed to? Dennis Smith Jr., I remember he was super cheap over there. There he is, $11. Wow.
Yeah. I would have had him a ton now that the Wizards news has come out. I don't believe that I have him in a single lineup. If I do, I have him in one. He is comically cheap at $11. But I'm not totally confident in his health. So now that we have so much value at the guard spots, it's become a pretty tough priority for me.
All right. Thoughts on Boban? No, I wouldn't. There's no need. There's literally no need.
Should he be in play? I don't see a reason why he would get any real run today.
There's a bunch of $10 plays I'd rather have on Yahoo. I'm looking at him on DraftKings. Boban is 37 on DraftKings. I would rather go with right around there is Thomas Bryant. I think that's more realistic. The problem with Boban is he can get a DNP. Let's see. I'm just looking last thing. He got the start last night. I did not realize that because I was in bed before that game went off. But he got the start last night, played 21 minutes. But prior to that, it took his 3 games for him to get 21 minutes. That's not something I want to do. Boban we like is when not as many people knew about what he could do, when he was floating around near the flat minimum, and there wasn't a bunch of other value like there is this evening. So I think you're kind of capping yourself this evening. If we look at it, he has topped 20 fantasy points in 3 of his 4 starts. Those are starts. The rest of the games, he's only topped 20 fantasy points twice in a 12-game span. I don't want it. It's too much volatility, and I don't see I want 40 from him if I'm going to take that kind of downside risk. Is he fun as hell to watch? You bet. Is it wild to see the picture of him and his wife? Yes. But do we want to put real hard-earned dollars on him? Not today.
We have some breaking news, and this one's less ridiculous than the last one. Ante Zizic is out for the Cavs, and they are planning to start Channing Frye and Jaren Blossom game tonight.
How is that less ridiculous?
I mean, because Udonis Haslem was not going to play, whereas, I don't know, Like, it
Where's
doesn't make me
Tristan
want any
Thompson?
tabs or anything, but it certainly moves some stuff around.
Yeah.
Larry Nance probably becomes significantly more interesting than he was 5 minutes ago, because there's still no Tristan Thompson. I had Zizic in for 22 minutes, so reappropriating that is, well, not easy. They have no legitimate big men outside of Larry. I mean, Larry Nance is going to have to play 40 minutes, right? Am I crazy?
Fouls in his first rotation. What does this do for Whiteside for you? On the flip side, I mean, he should just be unimpeded tonight.
Yeah, I loved him before. I certainly like him more now. I mean, like, Channing Frye he played 17 minutes in the most recent game. I don't really see a scenario where he's going to play that much more. It almost has to go to Larry Nance. So I'm going to bump Larry Nance up to, we'll say 36 minutes for right now. See if I can figure out where to go with the rest of these minutes. Blossom Game got 30 minutes just before Christmas, mostly in the mid-20s. So the best I can really go there is like 25. That still leaves me 7 minutes to toss around to basically anybody. Man, this team is straight up dreadful. Oh. Does this make you have any interest in Larry Nance now?
No, but it makes me have more interest in Whiteside and wishing I wouldn't have taken him out of the other lineups that I had him in.
That makes sense. Do you have any interest in Blossom Game now? Just because I feel like I have to say that out loud.
No.
Yeah, I would agree there as well. But Larry Nance, 7,100 on FanDuel, 6,900 on DK, $26 on Yahoo. I think that's the spot where it's most appealing. Otherwise, I don't really see this affecting much. I don't get the sense that that's going to impact any decisions for me. Nance would be a part of my player pool, but nothing crazy. I don't really. Would you rather have? Here's a Yahoo question for you.
Mm-hmm.
3 guys in the exact same salary range: DeAndre Jordan at $25, Larry Nance at $26, DeAndre Ayton at $24. Do you have a preference between those 3 guys?
I don't want Ayton going against Adams. I barely lean towards DeAndre Jordan.
Okay.
Barely.
I'm on the exact same page with you right now.
And I just say that because I had the choice between Ayton and DeAndre Jordan, and I think it was Miles Turner. I did a bunch of drafts today, the 6-mans over there, and I was willing to just wait till the last round. And even when I didn't necessarily have the last center coming off the board, I still was always picking DeAndre Jordan. Now, if Steven Adams would have been there, I would have taken him. But and that's, just to put that in perspective, you're willing to wait that long, and then now you're just dealing with raw points. That was my decision, and those guys are all around the same price point. So there's the line of thinking on that.
Man, that really... What would it take for Hassan? This feels like a spot where Hassan Whiteside is really going to piss people off. Now I'm nervous about Hassan Whiteside. I didn't even think twice about it before. I was really happy to have him. And now I've been given pause, like, oh, he's going to lay an egg here and it's going to end up being like a Bam day.
There's my take. Of the cheapies on Yahoo, a couple people were asking Tomas Satoransky or Dennis Smith Jr. I just combined them there. They're both the same price. I said Satoransky is going to get probably double the minutes, but he'll be 5 times the popularity of Dennis Smith on Yahoo, is my guess, because I think a bunch of people are going to miss Smith there. So if I was playing the tournament, which I am, I would lean towards Dennis Smith.
I think I would too.
And that's an example of leverage and ownership. Now, we don't yet have the ownership for Yahoo. I know they're working on it behind the scenes, but that's one of those where you can get your leverage play. And if Sato has, 15 points and somehow Dennis Smith gets 28, which isn't impossible at all, you're very, very happy.
Yeah, I completely agree there. The ownership difference should be pretty massive. There are so many games on this slate where I feel like they're not really on this slate. Like Magic and Raptors, for example. Is there any piece of this game that you really have any interest in outside of your boy?
I want to make this very, very clear. This is the Fred Van Vliet fan club. You should not be playing him in any lineups. I should be the only one playing him, and I'm required to play him in that silly contest we do at my expense. Don't play him today. There are so many better options. Now, randomly, he had a very empty box score, and he played 38 minutes and all that stuff. That can happen. If you ever watch him play, he's kind of slow, he's kind of pudgy, and you wonder why you played him. So I play him because that reminds me of my game, slow, pudgy, and you wonder why the guy's on the court. But I can also say Fred Van Elite. The interest in him ends right with that statement tonight.
He's not he's perfectly acceptable in my opinion, and 5,500 on FanDuel I think is actually a really nice price.
He's a nice pivot. He's of all these guys surging into the popularity spot. He's got way more court time, way more experience, and is way more involved in the offense. So I mean, that would be the argument for him. I'm just looking at him on Yahoo. He is that's DraftKings.
Van Vliet.
Yeah,
5,600.
I'm sorry, no, I'm looking for him on Yahoo. He's 19 on Yahoo.
Yeah.
Hell no, don't go to him there.
No, there's just too many guys in like the 10, 11, 12 range.
And Sato.
Yeah, there's too many guys in the 10, 11, 12 range that it makes it really hard to go to 19 for Fred Van Vliet.
Good question about DJ Augustine. I was way on him. It must have been last night or the night before when he had that excellent game. I'm not on him at all tonight. Just don't really want to take him against Toronto, even though they are missing Kyle Lowry. And he's one of those guys I do keep tabs on from time to time because he's someone that slides into my lineups a lot.
4,500 on DraftKings, no ownership whatsoever. I'd have no problem using him if I were playing, if I were mass entering. Similarly, flat minimum on Yahoo. I think that if there was a situation where you could mass enter on Yahoo, I'd be happy to go there. He'd be a tough fit for me in just 10 lineups, but on DK, I think he's very much in play. Oh, I think someone in our chat was locking Blossom game. That's, well, slightly scary.
All I can think of is the TV show Blossom right now. And I never watched it, but I know Joey Lawrence was.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I didn't expect to do the Joey Lawrence whoa today on the show, but here we are.
And I only say I would have watched it. I'm a skosh outside of that age range, so I'm aware of the show. I like Miss forget what's her name, Mayim Bialik. She's super smart. I think she's incredibly funny, and she's actually about my age. But I never really watched that show. But wasn't that show out around like the same time as Roseanne and some of those other shows? That
was like early-ish 90s.
Yeah, it was when I was in college and we didn't have DVRs or anything. And when you're living in a fraternity, Blossom is not going to be what's on TV.
Probably not.
On the common big screen TV, and nobody had cable in their rooms and all of that. Yeah, it was movies or sports. That was your choices.
Yeah. Not too many choices there. And you don't have... TV is very different then than it was now. You don't have an unlimited amount of everything to watch.
Yes.
I feel like we need... Wow, what's another game that we could touch on? I feel like everything is coming from one specific set of games, but... someone in the YouTube chat is asking about Dennis Smith, and I think there's a really easy way to touch on him quickly.
Okay.
The reason... So, someone said, I don't see how anyone can play Dennis Smith Jr. when he hasn't played since the 14th of December due to injury. Isn't that going to hinder his performance? Yeah, probably. Here's the deal. He's only 5,300 on FanDuel, 5K on DK, and only $1 more than the minimum on Yahoo. And that's the key takeaway here. I wouldn't rush to put him in on FanDuel and DraftKings. I wouldn't have an issue with it if you wanted to, but the Yahoo price point in particular is simply just too low for him. I only have him in for 28 minutes. I think that's a relatively pessimistic stance to take. If he's back, I expect him to play a decent amount of run. And for $11, he's just simply too cheap. So while there should be some concern if he's coming back from injury, even if it becomes a problem for you on Yahoo, it's not at $11. It's not the type of decision that's going to stop you from cashing if he bombs.
Yeah, I'm putting it this way: if he wasn't that low on Yahoo, I would not be playing him.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. If he was, I don't know, $17, $18, then you could walk away. But at 11, especially with Wes Matthews being out as well, like it's just one less of the normal guys to take shots. He is certainly worth a flyer in a tournament where he's only $1 more than the minimum. Do you have any interest in anything from the Hornets and Nets side? That's another game that we haven't really touched on.
Absolutely zero. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with anybody from the Nets. Nobody made it. Kemba Walker a little bit, but he's so spendy. There's why aren't you playing Bradley Beal?
Yeah.
If you're doing limited lineups, if you want to pivot, hey, there's a nice one right there with Kemba, because not many people are going to play him, and we know he does have 60 fantasy point upside, but you're almost going to need that 60 fantasy point upside tonight for it to make a difference. So
yeah, I'm playing a little bit of Russell and a little bit of Dinwiddie. They're clearly not in the same lineup for me, but $23 and $24 respectively on Yahoo. I feel pretty safe in saying that, like, you would expect one of those guys to have a pretty good game. I don't really know who to prioritize, so I'm hoping that I'm just getting the right amount of coverage. Over the last 15 games, the Hornets have given up fantasy points 5% more than average on a per possession basis, which ranks 4th from the bottom. So defense has been a bit of a struggle from a fantasy perspective. That's why I at least want to take a small look at Russell and Dinwiddie. And then for me, I have Kurucs in like half of my lineups.
I was just gonna say, what are you doing with him? And your guys at $24 are excellent on Yahoo. Absolutely. I was thinking with my DraftKings mine.
I hear you.
But yeah, that's where I am. Would you? So because I've got $13 and I'm looking at Kurucs here.
I would assume that he is my number one guy at $13 or below.
Mm-hmm. That makes it
too many minutes, and from all the quotes I've seen from Kenny Atkinson and the team, like, they don't plan on cutting that anytime soon. They're really happy with the way he's been playing. So, fire me up some Kurucs.
There'd be a need. What do we got? 8 minutes left. There's still some room in the Yahoo tournament.
Yeah, get in, or don't, and leave all of that additional overlay to me. They're already being nice enough to jam in their own scratch, but guys should take advantage of that. If you're looking for the promo code for Yahoo, the promo code is AWESEMO, AWESEMO, which I spell better now than I spell the word awesome, which is no longer a word in my vocabulary. I cannot type it. It is always wrong.
Yes. And I'm going to drop that in the chat with the link. It's going to get you to the homepage of AWESEMO, where you get the free NFL Week 17 $1 Million Baller article. So, and that's covering plays, focusing on guys that have something to play for, be it playoffs or what do you call them? Salary milestone bonuses.
Do you have any interest? We're getting a question over and over again in YouTube chat, so I want to hit it. Do you have any interest in Wendell Carter at 4,900 on DraftKings?
No, he's somebody I generally don't want to play. I got burned too many times this season, but if you're going to be playing him against a team where he's probably not going to get in foul trouble, it would be the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
I, even looking at that and liking it, is he really going to play more than 25 minutes? It's not the Bulls that are hurting for people. He just still gets in foul trouble. Here's his fouls: 4, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 4. I don't want that. There's just too much downside. He's got one game in that stretch with double-digit rebounds. Wait, am I looking at the right column? He does not have a game at all with double-digit rebounds since the beginning of December, and he scored double-digit points twice since the beginning of December.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. I mean, if you're max entering, I like the idea of having him and other parts of the Bulls in this game, because it could become a really ridiculous game to stack. If I were playing one lineup, I would have a difficult time getting to Wendell Carter. He doesn't seem to be the same sort of priority under Jim Boylan as he was earlier in the season. So it's a tough sell for me. Sorry.
And to be fair, I have 5% in my 115 lineups. I'm okay letting that ride. One, it matches the field, and two, I have so many wizards. I'm trying to. If I got a few bulls coming back on those teams, I'm fine with that. But yeah, if I'm hand building it, I'm not clicking on Wendell Carter.
Makes sense to me. I have no issue with it. Anybody at the high end that you just don't really have much interest in? Someone that is normally a high end play, but just not coming up for you. I don't want to use the term fade because I don't like the way that gets used.
I guess it's going to have to be Karl-Anthony Towns tonight because he's not even coming up on where I am on Yahoo. So I would have 10% of him. And I think that would, again, we spoke earlier where I said that's the guy I'm intrigued by not getting him. No Nikolai Vucevic. He's just getting lost in the shuffle as well. Tougher matchup, but not the worst. Blake Griffin. Thought he'd be on some teams. Nope. Ended up with him over there on draft, but nowhere else. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Somebody had brought up a good one. Would you look to Tyler Johnson on Yahoo? I think he's 11, I think.
I believe I have him in one lineup. Let me double check it.
And how do you feel like against Satoransky or Dennis Smith Jr.? I'd play Tyler over Dennis Smith Jr.
Man, that one's tough for me. That's really just a bet on how many minutes you think Dennis Smith Jr. plays. Mm-hmm. If you think that my 28 is too aggressive, then it's probably Tyler Johnson. If you think 28 or more is a reasonable output, then I think it's probably Dennis Smith. I prefer Dennis Smith at my current minutes number, but in order to get those guys being equal, if I shave 2 minutes off of that and give Dennis Smith 26, they're basically a coin flip. So it's not as if I have this chasm between the two. Tyler Johnson is one of the 9 point guards that made my player pool on Yahoo. He did not make a lineup, but he did make the player pool. Okay. So I don't know what that means or what anybody should take from that. At the very least, he had the opportunity to be in there. I didn't take him out of anything. But for me, it's easier to get to Satoransky than Tyler Johnson. Although, all right, I guess this is probably an interesting point. If you think that Satoransky is, let's say, 45% owned on Yahoo, which might be low, then I think that Tyler Johnson is probably the better play. Because he's not going to be even remotely close to that number.
Yeah.
And that's something that Adam and I were talking about a little bit earlier with regards to making pivots to like-priced guys on Yahoo. He was asking me what my strategies have been, and I said, just trying to get good lineups into the tournament has been my priority because of the overlay. I feel like that's covering up any sort of next-level game theory options. But I think if you want to take a stand on Satoransky's ownership, Dennis Smith Jr. or Tyler Johnson are right there for you. Tyler Johnson in particular is a guy that, 5% ownership with that. That seems like a probably realistic number. 1/8 of what Satoransky is owned. And Satoransky is not going to beat Tyler Johnson that many times. If you play this slate 1,000 times, you'll probably win more money with Tyler Johnson than Satoransky.
Here's a little trick for those of you at home. I am making my lineups. There is some overlay there, so I'm just seeing who I have locking in the 7 o'clock games, and I'm going to go ahead and hit this button a few times real quick.
There you go.
The reason I'm doing that is I'm willing to build some lineups after lock, and we've got that flexibility. So I'm okay with Markkanen in there. I'm okay with Beal in there, and that means I'm now making a stand on Markkanen. So, but I'm okay with that.
We're getting a question of Rose or Markkanen. I don't really want to answer it since we were called idiots for it. So I'd prefer to not give you the answer. Thanks, love.
All right. Do you say love with roses? Just throwing it out there.
I don't.
If they want to read into it.
Yeah, I don't really need to be called an idiot immediately after asking the question, being told that we won't answer it. So now you're right. Now I really won't answer it. See where that got you? All you had to do was be nice.
I would have answered it, but some of us are your old pal, and some of us are realists.
Sometimes it's just better off to be nice. That'll get you further. Burks versus Danny Green. See, no one called me an idiot after that one, so I'm happy to answer it. That's a tricky one because there's certainly more, I think, more upside in Alec Burks, because if he gets hot, like, it's not as if anybody else on the Cavs is going to try to talk him down off of the shooting ledge. So I have Burks in my player pool on Yahoo. I do not have Danny Green. So I think that I would take Burks, but I certainly wouldn't be excited about it. I mean, this Cavs team is projected for 96 fantasy or 96 real points. I mean, that means that like low 80s are in play with, not like a standard deviation and a half of their scoring. That's terrifying. They're so bad. But Burks has the higher ceiling, so if you're playing in a GPP, go for it.
Yeah, I would stand by that. That is sound analysis.
Trevor Ariza or Dennis Schroeder for cash?
I'd play Ariza. I don't know where they're priced the same, but I'd play Ariza.
I don't even know which site we're talking about, but I mean,
not
really, Schroeder's in such a good spot with Paul George out today.
What? Oh, here's a good one. What is the biggest tournament you have all won? I have won like actual winning tournaments. I think I've won 3 of around $5,000. I have 3 other hits of around that range or a little bit higher, but I did not actually win the tournament.
Similar answer for me. And then just from like a ridiculous tournament perspective, I banked the quarter during baseball season this year, and that ends up having like a really preposterous amount of entries. So that went well. But yeah, 2 or 3 5,000 spots. And on those nights, that lineup was in something else. So it ended up being, 8 to 9 total. Nothing too crazy. I don't play enough volume or high level tournaments for it to be much higher than that. I probably should, but it's a lot to want to manage like mass entry and do a live show. So I try to play more volume on days where I'm not on the live stream. It's just sometimes it's just like something breaks at 6:40 and you got to keep everything going, and you don't want to have like 150 lineups in the $4.44 shot and have to scramble to do that. I've had too many not great nights doing it, so I try to thin it out a bit. We are locked. 4 early games too. I guess the Wizards game is really the only one where ownership is going to be something people care about.
Let's look real quick here. I'll call up Yahoo. Pardon me, I'll call up...
You're going to go to DK?
DraftKings, yep.
I'll hop to Yahoo and see if I can get any of the biggies. 18,638 entries into that Yahoo baller, so they were short another 1,400 entrants. Can't beat that. Spencer Dinwiddie 3.5%. Lauri Markkanen 6.5%. Those are both appealing.
I like that. Yeah. I like the Markkanen.
I like the Dinwiddie. D'Angelo Russell 2%. Bradley Beal 45%. Kurucs 50%. Kawhi 6%. Anybody else?
Oh, this will be fun.
Jeff Green 40%. Probably higher than I would have liked. Aaron Gordon 4.5%. Zach LaVine 4.5%. That is quite the oh man, this should be on the contrary. I've got a lineup that no one will have.
All right,
Satoransky 38. That's the last one I think we really needed out of that game.
So I'm going to read some ownership percentages, and I'm going to say them against Osmo's last ownership projection. So this is from the $10 $500,000 contest on DraftKings. Tomas Satoransky, the first number I'm going to read is DraftKings. The second one will be Osmo. 52.5. We had him at 61. Bradley, which we went high, but he was so cheap, it made sense, and it makes a lot of stuff work. Once you get over 50, it on a slate this big, it's kind of like, well, it's going to be self-diffusing. Bradley Beal ended up being 40%. We had him at 32. Jeff Green, 31.8. We had him at 32. Tomas Bryant was 27. We had him at 29. Those are some pretty close ones. I like that. That's where I've been saying on these shows that it can be uncanny where some of these check in. It's weird like that. They're good. They're good at this.
We really are. It's a good product.
Where was Markkinen? We had Markkinen at 2. He ended up coming in at 5. So 5.7.
I'd like to have Markkinen at that number.
So anyway, those are the ones that I like, and generally I really only worry about the first 20 or so. It's very common that are on these big slates, 20 or so. Otherwise, I really only care about the top 10 and anybody else that's popping that I'm not aware of. Once you get below, 10% ownership, you're not really chalk because we have 8 or 9 positions depending on what site you're playing on. A bunch of different ways you can go, etc. I just like to know who's cresting above it and how I want to go against them. But too many times I've seen, I love how many times I've seen the Osmo projections come in 1 or 2% on either side of these guys. You're like, how does that happen?
Yeah, they are the linchpin to everything for me. It makes me think back and wonder, like, how did I ever manage without it?
Yeah, and the other sites that do it. I mean, I've talked to other sites that do things. I've talked to both the guys that power the sites with the initials FL and RG and talk about what goes into their models, and just sat down and had a beer with them, figure out what they're doing at some of the events we've been at together. And it's amazing the different inputs that come in. So yeoman's work to anybody doing it. I don't even know where I would start. So I'm not besmirching anybody else's. These just have been uncannily accurate. So I want to mention that.
A good plug. I couldn't agree more. They're the best that I've seen, and they are the core of everything that I do. So I'm excited to. I'm excited to get the Yahoo projection soon too.
Yeah, I like how ours go down to the percent. It gives you that much little more nuance. Yeah, you got to give it the plus minus 2%, 3% on the leeway, but it's better than seeing a chunk of 5%, 10%, and a few guys at 20 or 15. It just, to me, it hones in that much more. And if it wasn't this specific, you can bet I wouldn't be talking about it. So
I think that's it.
All right.
Made it through the holiday week.
In the can. Give them the shows in the can. We still have 700 people watching.
Thanks everybody for hanging out. Hit that like button while you're here. That's always helpful for us. I'm ready to go. I'm not ready to go watch any of this early basketball, but I'm ready to go watch some of the later games.
Yes, there we go. I'm going to go round up some dinner.
Liverpool at 12:30. John Jones, Alexander Gustafsson, UFC pay-per-view Saturday night. Going to be a good Saturday. Got friends coming in from all over the place for New Year's. So we have people coming into town tomorrow and Sunday. 90s themed New Year's Eve party at my house. So if anybody's in the Wilmington area, feel free to stop by.
All right.
Can't beat it. I'm wearing a windbreaker suit and a turtleneck. I'm going to part my hair down the middle like I looked like when I was in 5th grade. It's going to be brutal. I'll probably wear it for a show too. I'm going to look all sorts of terrible. The screen grabs are not going to be great for me.
There we are. Well, 11 o'clock tomorrow, you can catch me and Adam doing a DFS strategy show, taking a leisurely walk through the 8 games we have on Saturday. You'll see the On the Contrary posted shortly, if it's not already up there now, with Evan Silva, Osmo himself, Alex Baker, and Spags. And then we've got Andrew. See, now too many A names. Andrew, right. And Ben also went by position. So if you want to catch some of that stuff, it's up there. Listen to it at your leisure on the YouTube channel.
There you go. Best of luck, everybody. I'll see you at the top of the leaderboard. Emac and I will both see you there. Adios, everybody.